Hit the wrong button there, folks. Sorry. Greetings and welcome back. Rush Limbaugh on the cutting edge of societal evolution. There's another reason why stay-at-home moms actually, I think, are a threat to women like Hillary Rosen and other leftist pundits who want the state paying for school lunch, school breakfast, school dinner, food stamps, contraception, you name it. Every aspect of life, as much as the state needs to be involved with they want. And a stay-at-home mother doesn't involve the government. Married stay-at-home moms. That's who were attacked. Ann Romney, married stay-at-home. He never had to work a day in her life. You know what really irritates them? In addition to stay-at-home moms being the flip side of a welfare mom, a stay-at-home mom, look at me, talking to you now, instead of having the government, stay-at-home moms have a husband to support them. And you don't think that irritates some of these leftist women? Remember the early days of feminism. Women were to ignore, put aside relationships as one of the reasons for happiness in life. Now, I realize some of you are new to the program, and some of you are maybe too young to remember what was going on in the late 60s and 70s. I lived it. Don't doubt me on this. The dawning era of this current age of feminism. Women were told all kinds of things. A relationship, a man, that was shackles. That was holding you back. It was denying you your full potential. Being a mother, staying at home, you're letting the sisterhood down, but you're letting yourself down too. It was a full court press to throw away as many traditions in male-female relationships, both at home and at work, as possible. I kid you not on this, and it was not hidden. There was nothing subliminal about this message. It was dead on, right between the eyes. There were books, lectures. The feminists went on TV, made remarks about it. And having a life that depended on a man for any amount of your happiness was a sin. And if you don't like it that way, depending on a relationship for any part of your happiness, you were missing the boat. You were falling prey to the old traps that had been set by the patriarchal dominated society from the get-go. Because all it was slave work. It was vacuuming and ironing and cleaning up the messes with the kids and all this. This was the liberation of women's lib. It was liberating women from all of these traditions. And you cannot have women's lib without also requiring liberation from men and relationships and marriage and so forth. The feminists would say back then, for you young ladies in the audience, the feminists would say, I mean, Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan and Molly Yarden, a whole bunch of them, Eleanor Smeal, would constantly say that women need men like a fish needs a bicycle. That was one of the statements. Women need men like a fish. And it was militant. This was not advice that they were given. These were demands. Now, the reason I remember this stuff, for those of you young ladies and young men in the audience, too, is because I was just turning, in 1971, I was just turning 20 and 21. Those are just, I moved out of the house. I'd moved to Pittsburgh. I was on my own. It was new, fresh, exciting times. And this feminism stuff hit. And it was a mess. Because it turned women angry. They, even if you went out and had a date, the whole, there was no fun to it. And it wasn't every woman, of course. They all didn't fall into it, but a whole lot did. I'm simply trying to give you backup for the assertion here that women like Hillary Rosen, these leftist, feminist, liberate women from all these traditional shackles The fact that Ann Romney had a husband supporting her and not the government, that is as irritating a factor as anything else in this. More so than, it's the reason Ann Romney, quote unquote, never had to work a day in her life. Or as Bill Maher so eloquently said on Friday, it's why Ann Romney never had to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and get her ass out of the house, quote unquote, Bill Maher. It's because there was a husband there who provided for her and the kids. And that, see, the women, that were not supposed to depend on that. It was okay if the government ended up providing for you. That was cool. But not a husband, not a man. You're supposed to do that yourself, and if you couldn't do it yourself, then you turn to government programs. Now, today's Ann Romney's birthday. Did you know that? Ann Romney's birthday. Democrats actually a couple days early with their gifts. Last week. Well, it's probably a happy birthday. I'm just telling you, I'm not making these statements to be provocative. I'm not trying to make anybody mad. I'm just telling you what is. I lived it. Grew up in an era where more women than you can count were told the worst thing could happen to you is to have your happiness derived from a relationship or a man. Now, they still needed men they wanted, but it was not pleasant. It really was true. Compliment her appearance, and it was an insult. It was sexist. It was objectifying. Open the car door. I can do that myself. I'm not some weakling. This stuff really happened. And it was commonplace. Let's go to the audio sound bites. We're going to go now to ABC's This Week. George Stephanopoulos. This is the roundtable. And they're talking about Bill Maher's remarks on Friday night about Ann Romney. And the guest that this is Melanie Barnes, former White House domestic policy advisor for Obama. So this is Stephanopoulos and Melanie Barnes talking about Bill Maher.
I wonder if the president has a continuing problem with Bill Maher. You saw those comments he made on Friday night. He's given $1 million. He's the biggest single contributor to the super PAC aligned with the president. This has now happened a couple of times. Do you think the president's going to have to cut ties?
The language, the sentiment are problematic. And the campaign and the president has said, look, the civility it matters. The way we talk to each other matters. I saw David Axelrod in earlier situations when comments have been made by Bill Maher say, I'm not going on your show. I'm backing away. I'm distancing myself.
Okay, so don't think they solved anything there. There's the Melanie Barnes, struggling in vain for a cogent thought to answer the question. Because what she didn't want to say is, the president ought to throw him overboard because they don't want to get rid of his money. They do not want to give back the $1 million. So they've got to say, well, Maher, he's not one of us. It's like Hillary Rosen, she's not one of us. She works at CNN. So later during the roundtable, talking about Maher's remarks, they got Cokie Roberts of ABC News, Stephanopoulos, and Hurricane Katrina vanden Heuvel from The Nation magazine.
What Maher does and what Rosen did, even though I certainly know that you're just talking on television, sometimes you say things.
Yeah, she wishes it would have come out a different way.
We've all done it. But the fact is that it plays into an image of the Democrats as this out of touch with regular people and elitist and kind of snooty.
To pick up on what Cokie says, I think these discussions about Bill Maher and the Hillary Rosen Ann Romney, much of that plays into a view that our politics are failing to deal with the massive, deep-seated problems this country has. There are people in this country who are looking perhaps at us right now on this roundtable and saying, you're not connecting to my problems or my life. Let's get with it. Forget Bill Maher.
Right. Let's forget Bill Maher. But if it was Rush Limbaugh, we'll sit here for a month and talk about it and try to connect with your life. Bill Maher, we're not... Katrina, what do you want to talk about on your roundtable? What problems do people have that you don't think you're connecting with here? Is it Obama's economy? So see, they're eager to they want to sweep Bill Maher away. Women are from Venus. Democrat women are from Bill Maher's. That's the problem that they have here. They don't quite know what to do. See, secretly, they love Maher. They think Maher's the funniest guy. When he comes out and he zings a goal, nobody, but they love Bill Maher. When he does this, they sit there they have to defend him. They can't throw him overboard because to them, he's way too valuable when you measure it on balance. So this kept up. So here what we have Melody Barnes answering, saying nothing. Cokie, Roberts, Katrina Vanden Heuvel step in to say everybody says things come out wrong. It's no big deal. Let's move on to the real issues. Except Cokie thinks, this is, by the way, who thinks this is a quasi-important point too? Cokie Roberts says that this plays into the image of the Democrats as this out of touch with regular people, elitist, kind of snooty. Who has that image of Democrats? Isn't that the image of Republicans that the Democrats put forth? Isn't elite and out of touch with regular people and snooty? Isn't that Romney? Isn't that what Obama and isn't that what they say of Romney? Did Cokie let another cat out of the bag here? Inadvertently? Now, these people live and die on polls, and particularly internal polls. And who knows what they've got there at ABC News and the Washington Post. But I will guarantee you there is polling data that shows that people think it's the Democrats who are out of touch, that it's the Democrats who are elitist and snooty. And I think she's blown it big time by mentioning, because that's what the Democrats try to say about Republicans. All of a sudden she said that this Maher thing plays into that. It makes the Democrats look that way. Everybody says things that are wrong sometimes. Let's move on. Really? Let's not create a phony media feeding frenzy for a month on the. No, we're outraged out. Everybody knew what's going on. There's nothing to see here. Let's move on. Which takes us to the next bite. And this is Cokie Roberts, and Stephanopoulos says, look, this issue of Romney being very, very rich, this issue seems to hobble the campaign a little bit. They had some trouble putting out the first tax returns earlier this year. Now they're putting off the release, Romney. How big a deal do you think this is? And should we expect to see those 12 years of tax returns that Obama's demanding to see of Romney's?
Romney has to find a narrative about his wealth. I mean, that's really where he is. We're not talking about his taxes. We're talking about how much money he has. And he's very, very, very rich. And he needs to find a way to talk about that so that voters aren't turned off.
Really? He does? Why doesn't Warren Buffett have to? And why doesn't Bill Gates have to? Well, I know they're not running for office, but doesn't it go back to the point that those guys are excused because they're liberals? And they sit there and they say their taxes ought to be increased. And they sit there and say they've got too much money. Well, Obama wants Romney's tax returns last 12 years. Let's see Obama's school records. How about his transcripts from Harvard and from Columbia? There's a lot of stuff Obama hasn't released about him. So how about we see that stuff? Anyway, Romney filed an extension to his taxes. Did you know that? Well, he did. You have to pay what you owe on April 15th or 17th. You have to pay what you owe, but you can get an extension to file the return, all the paperwork and so forth. And I think it's October 15th is the day. Does that ring a bell? On October 15th, Mitt Romney is going to be filing his tax return. Not in April, where there's 6 months to forget it. Any time between, you can file any time now. You don't have to wait till October, but that is the limit. That's exactly right.